marefu na mapana, TV bora ya maadili, inayotupa yaliyo ya kheri. Waislamu lijueni hili, TV bora ni Al-Haajar.
But remember, you are on the borderline of committing haram. You should remember that always. And if you understand that clearly, that you are on the borderline of committing haram, this is where it determines how the ulama are like and how the awam would be. وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. آمين رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, inshallah ta'ala, we did the first part of the makruhat, and today inshallah ta'ala we're going to finish off the second part of the makruhat of salah. And as you know, we said that the makruh, the reason why we study it, is something that the sharia ma talaba bihi. The sharia does not ask for it, and it doesn't want us to do it. Lakin, you do not receive any sins out of that. You don't become sinful. But remember, you are on the borderline of committing haram. You should remember that always. And if you understand that clearly, that you are on the borderline of committing haram, this is where it determines how the ulama are like and how the awam would be. Because remember, when the scholars, the mashayikh, the ulama, they stay away from the makruhat, then there is a high chance that you expect the awam to also stay away from that which is haram. Lakin, if a person does not really, let's say in the house, a father, a leader basically, or a mother, as parents, they are in the house, they are the ones that are literally committing those mahdhurat, which are literally to be the makruhat. What do you expect the others of the flock to do? They would literally commit that which is haram, because they look up to the ones who are with them. So we have to be the ones who set the example as parents, as ulama, as mashayikh, as du'at. We have to be the ones that stay away from the makruhat, the disliked acts, in order for us to do what? To be able to lead the ummah, inshaAllah ta'ala. Remember, you yourself, you are a leader. وَكُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِكُمْ كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ. Each one of you are shepherds. وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِكُمْ. And each one of you are responsible of your own flock. You're a mother, you have your children. You're a mother, a wife, you have your husband. A husband as well, a father when it comes to your children. You're a child, you're a son, you have your parents, you have your siblings, you have your community, you have societies, you have your mashayikh, you have the ummah at large, you have everyone around you that literally has to take something from you, because you, remember, are an example of this ummah itself, inshaAllah ta'ala. So what are the other makruhat which we have to stay away from in salah in order to protect our salah بإذن الله الكريم؟ فيقول المصنف رحمه الله تعالى: ومن المكروه السجود على كور عمامته أو طرف كمه أو ردائه، والقراءة في الركوع والسجود، والدعاء بالعجمية للقادر على العربية، والالتفات في الصلاة، وتشبيك أصابعه وفرقعتها، ووضع يديه على خاصرته وإقعاؤه، وتغميض عينيه، ووضع قدمه على الأخرى، وتفكره بأمر دنيوي، وحمل شيء بكمه أو فمه، وعبث بلحيته. Now, if you look at the text, as far as I know, perhaps inshallah ta'ala you've downloaded it. If not, then there is a link on the description below, inshallah. Do join our mailing list bi'idhnillah al-kareem. Do consider to subscribe on the channel, and then put the notification bell on as well at the same time, so that you may be notified with new videos, new classes that will be coming up, inshallah ta'ala. But when you go on the link on the description, and then you subscribe to our mailing list, you'll receive the document that we use, the text, the matn itself that we use in Arabic and perhaps also in English, so that you can follow along. Now you'll notice there's a part that we have not covered in the makruhat, because it's something that we need to separate it from that which we need to cover right now, inshallah ta'ala. But it doesn't mean, however, that we're not going to touch into it. Of course we are, to show the mumayyizat of this madhab, the things that distinguish the madhab of Imam Malik compared to other madhahib, bi'idhnillah. But you will notice at the same time how close it is to the other madhahib, such as the Shafi'i madhab, the Hanbali madhab, and also the Hanafi madhab. Did you know that Al-Imam Abu Hanifa and Al-Imam Malik, they were actually friends? They would sometimes debate. They would write letters to each other, to one another, in regards to fiqh related issues, and they would discuss with love and mercy. Bear this in mind. ومالك وأحمد والشافعي أبو حنيفة الإمام التابعي على هدى من ربهم ورحمة والاختلاف نعمة للأمة. Al-ikhtilaf is a mercy in the ummah. When people differ, when it comes to understanding certain masail, it's rahmah. Not everyone will be able to abide with that which is provided from the ulama that we have. In fact, these other opinions, as long as they are sahih and they are accepted, they are there to assist the ummah so that people can live with ease. We have a system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with, no other ummah has. So we don't take these for granted, and today you cause tashni', tafriq بين الأمة and also تنازع والتخاصم الخصومة, just because you believe this is right and the other one is wrong and this madhab is the one to be followed. You don't do that, ya ikhwah. We have more problems which are far greater than that, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all. So فصاحب الكتاب ماذا يقول؟ ومن المكروه, and among the makruh acts that we have, السجود على كور عمامته. It is to do sujood on the layers of your imamah. What is that? The turban that you wear normally. You notice some our dear brothers and sisters, our dear brothers, majority of the times, from those who come from different backgrounds, they wear amaim, isn't it? And when they wear these imamat, you notice some of them, they are quite thick because they've literally wrapped it around their heads more than twice. Now, if you go to the Middle East, especially in the Khalij, you'll notice this, that when they wear their imamah, their turbans normally, it's maybe one layer or maybe two layers. Now, is that okay? According to Sahibu al-Jawahir al-Zakiyya or Hashiyat al-Safti, he literally, these books, when you break them down, they're like encyclopedias literally, of this matter itself. It is impossible in one single class, which is only about 30 minutes, to explain all of the masail بالدقة, بالعمق. لا يمكن، مستحيل أن تتعمق في مسألة بمدة 30 دقيقة. In a dars which is only half an hour, you cannot really look into the masail بعمق, in depth, because there are so many masail. مثلا في مسألة كور العمامة, when it comes to the layers of the turbans itself. Now you notice they say that وهي طاقاتها المشدودة. It is the layers which literally is wrapped and tied on the head. Al-mulasaqa lil-jabha, which is attached to the forehead. That is if وَهَذَا إِذَا كَانَ قَدْرُ الطَّاقَتَيْن. That is if it's only 2 rounds. That's what it is. وَإِنْ كَانَ كَثِيفًا. لكن what if those 2 rounds, they are thick? إن كان كثيفا أعاد في الوقت على حسب المذهب. You repeat the salah in the time. And that is, when you see أعاد في الوقت, that means when you have the opportunity, it's best if you repeat that salah. Lakin when you hear أعاد أبدا, that means you do not have a choice, you must repeat. Otherwise, that salah, because it would not be accepted and considered, then if you haven't prayed for أنت مذنب. Okay, أنت آثم. فتكون من? You become a sinner for that. You have to repeat your salah, inshallah ta'ala. And this, you notice that it's among the aqwal of Al-Imam Al-Mazari, rahimahullah ta'ala. Al-Imam Al-Mazari, his name was known to be Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Ali. Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Ali. Al-Imam Al-Mazari wasn't just a faqih, whom from him Al-Qadi Iyad received an ijazah for the knowledge that he gave him. Bear that in mind. Let alone that Al-Qadi Iyad Al-Yahsubi, the Qadi that we read from Tartib al-Madarik. But on top of that, this Imam, it is said that كان له اليد العليا في الطب. He had an upper hand when it comes to medicine, which means that he was very good in medicine. This says something. What we have done, we have literally decided to regard the sciences of this deen to be quite shallow in our lives, to a position where if a person becomes a scholar, they cannot do anything else. Like in the example of Al-Imam Al-Mazari, look at Al-Imam Ibn Rushd Al-Hafid. Al-Imam Ibn Rushd, صاحب بداية المجتهد ونهاية المقتصد. He was a surgeon, if I'm not wrong, or maybe he was very good في الطب كذلك, in medicine. But if a person is extremely good in pharmaceuticals and medicine, imagine how good and how good they are also in fiqh. Imagine how much these persons have had as injaz. They have been able to receive and to achieve in their lives. There's nothing that is impossible. That's what I'm trying to say. You can be a alim and at the same time you can be good at your craft, another expertise. There's no limitation to say, I want to be a alim, then you lock yourself into scholarism, and then you forget your part that you have to fulfill when it comes to knowledge as well. You should not do that. هذا haram. Haram alayk if you're going to do that on purpose. You have to become an example to the ummah. The youth today are growing up to neglect one side of their faith because they think that they wouldn't attain anything of this life. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Although you don't make your hadaf to achieve only the worldly goods alone, but at the same time, you try to build something of your own on this world in order to live a good life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants that from us. So Imam al-Bazari, he lived enough, but he died on the year 536. The year 536, and this alim as well, he had a sharh, he had an explanation of Sahih Muslim, he had a sharh of Muslim. Bear that in mind. Let alone him having a qawl in the madhab. Remember, for you to have your opinion provided and noted in the madhab, that nuqila fil madhab, then remember you're something else. On top of that, he has a sharh of Sahih Muslim, and on top of that, he was good at medicine as well. Which means that he arranged his life with discipline, and everything is possible as long as you have a jid. بقدر الكد تكتسب المعالي ومن طلب العلا سهر الليالي كما قال الإمام الشافعي رحمه الله تعالى. So what is the second one that we have? I don't want to go into too much detail in everything inshallah. أو طرف كمه أو ردائه. السجود على طرف الكم أو الرداء. What does that mean? When you do sujood on طرف الكم, you literally do sujood on the edge of your what? Of your sleeves. So for example, when you go down on sujood, you lay your jabha, and then you have those huge sleeves like our dear brothers from Sudan, mashallah, or maybe from Misr. They have their very big sleeves. They are very huge, and these were used in the olden days specifically. They would place things in their sleeves, but nowadays not many people do that. We have haqa'ib, we have also other means to place our things inside. Alhamdulillah. Lakin when they used to use these, it used to assist them. But lakin, what if a person is in a country where it's extremely cold or it's extremely hot, and they are praying on the surface of the ground, literally flat layer, and maybe you're praying on a flat surface of the ground such as tarmac on the road, or maybe you're praying on tiles and that, and then let's say you're in Mecca and it's extremely hot in August, and then you were wearing at that time you are literally wearing a qamis that literally has a long and a huge sleeve, a very wide sleeve. When you place your jabha, you know that you're gonna either burn, or maybe when you place your jabha on the cold surface, you're going to feel extremely cold, and it might even be detrimental to your skin or your head. What do? It is okay to place that on the ground so that you can protect your forehead. As long as it's not heavy enough, it's not thick enough to literally remove your forehead completely from the ground. The reason being that the ulama do not want, according to the fiqh, and also the sharia does not want us to place our foreheads on the ground while we have something covering us at the same time, is so that when we place our jabha, our jibah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the ground, it can be connected to the ground. And that is humility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you don't do that, then that connection is missed. And because that connection is missing, there wouldn't be a complete sujood. ليس كذلك. والسجود من الجبهة. A sujood comes from the jabha, not من الأنف or from the chin or anything. It comes from here. لذلك في المذهب نقول في المذهب, what does it provide? Imam Malik provides that As long as the jabha is on the ground, if the anf is not on the ground, then you're fine. But if the anf will be on the ground and not the jabha, then there's an issue. So the taqatan of the imama explains something, which means that if you're wearing that and you have to go on the ground while it's quite thick, then your sujood would not be accepted, which means that your salah will become batila, all of it. What if, for example, you're praying on a chair and you're wearing a amama? While you're doing sujood, you have to lift your amama so that your forehead can be empty, because it's as if you are أنت في مثابة السجود على مكان السجود وإن كان معنويا وليس حسيا. Even if you're doing it not physically as you're doing it, but you are literally doing it as an ishara. You're indicating towards the sujood. أليس كذلك؟ فلذلك تجد علماء هذا المذهب, what do? When they go to sujood and they are not in a state of actual sujood while they're on the chair, what do? They lift their imama up a little bit, and then they can do their sujood like that. That teaches us something, that you have to abide in accordance to how the Sharia provides, inshaAllah ta'ala. That's one. Another thing that we have, inshaAllah ta'ala, now that is for the kum, we said the sleeve. Rida is literally your upper garment that you wear. So for example, if you have a rida, for example, mathalan, and then you literally wrap yourself on top, maybe it's extremely cold, but you can't place your forehead on the ground, you can use a part of it so that you can do sujood on it and it should be fine. Lakin purposely doing it, that might be detrimental to your salah. The next thing that we have, inshaAllah ta'ala, from among the makruhat is وَالْقِرَاءَةُ فِي الرُّكُوعِ وَالسُّجُودِ, and to do qira'ah in sujood and ruku'. It is totally makruh. You should not do that. While you're in ruku' or sujood, الركوع والسجود وفي الركوع والسجود سبحي. What do? You do tasbih. But you don't do Quran while you're in ruku' and you do Quran while you're in sujood. لا. أماكن القرآن أين؟ You do Quran إن كنت قياما إن كنت قائما أليس كذلك؟ Or maybe you are in the beginning of salah ولو كنت جالسا ماذا تفعل؟ تقرأ القرآن في هذا الوقت، لكن لا تقرأ القرآن في الركوع ولا في السجود. You abandon that, inshaAllah ta'ala. That is makruh. And there's also explanation on this, which I don't really want to go into at the moment, inshaAllah ta'ala. Otherwise it's going to be a bit too long. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what does he say in a hadith? Nuhitu an aqra'a raki'an aw sajidan. I am forbidden to recite Quran, basically, while I'm in the state of ruku' or in the state of sujood. وهذا الحديث رواه مسلم في صحيحه وأبو داود والنسائي. Bear that in mind. So what do you notice? To read Quran in ruku' or maybe to read it in sujood, it is makruh. It's committing a disliked act. And if you do it on purpose, it might even lead to haram. You have to be very careful with that, inshaAllah ta'ala. Now what's the next thing which many people could ask as a very common question? وَالدُّعَاءُ بِالْعَجَمِيَّةِ لِلْقَادِرِ عَلَى الْعَرَبِيَّةِ. And to read or recite dua in a non-Arabic language, while you're in salah specifically, while you are capable of reciting the dua in Arabic. If you are capable of reciting the dua in Arabic and you do not recite it, then it will become makruh. Lakin if you are incapable, لغير القادر مثلا, now he didn't mention that, he did mention qadir, أيوة, he didn't mention qadir over here. بمعنى مفهوم المخالفة, the opposite of that, إن كان الشخص ليس قادرا على ذلك فهذا لا بأس به. If that person cannot ask and do supplication in salah in a language which in Arabic, in a language they cannot do dua in Arabic, but they can only do dua in another language in their mother tongue, then that should be fine, inshaAllah ta'ala, and it shouldn't be a problem, inshaAllah. It seems like a tongue twister, isn't it? InshaAllah ta'ala. Barakallahu fikum. So what do we have next? وَالْإِلْتِفَاتُ فِي الصَّلَاةِ. This is a bit interesting actually. وَالْإِلْتِفَاتُ فِي الصَّلَاةِ وَيُكْرَهُ الْإِلْتِفَاتُ فِي الصَّلَاةِ. And that is to literally turn while you're already in salah. Now when does it become haram and your salah becomes batilah? As you turn. Now remember, as we said, makruh is the borderline of haram. It's easy for you to even to trip towards the haram. Bear that in mind. When do you start considering that iltifat, the turning, makes your salah to become haram? What are the other masail that are included in this? Mathalan, that is to do what? Moving your eyes around. When you're not focusing on your salah. When you're moving your eyes around, Also, that is regarded as iltifat because you're not focused in your salah. That is another mas'ala which the ulama spoke about, but it's not mentioned over here. It's just touched on them. Now, al-iltifatu fi salah is turning to an extent where you're literally out of the qibla. Now, as we said in a previous class, we have 7 types of qibla. We have 7 qiblat. Bear that in mind. Those 7 qibla, we have al-qiblatul ayni, qiblatul ayn. What is qiblatul ayn? It is the mother qibla of all qiblas that we have. What is qiblatul ayn? It's the Kaaba itself. Each one of us face towards the Kaaba, whether we like it or not. أليس كذلك? But sometimes you go to Umrah, you go to Hajj, or maybe you're in Mecca, for the people of Mecca. Where do they face? They face the Kaaba. Now, مثلا, if I am not at the Kaaba, I am praying at home, I'm praying in the masjid, but I'm in another country. You're in the UK, you're in Pakistan, you're in Bangladesh, you're in Kenya, you're in Tanzania, you're in Africa, you're in Dubai, you're in maybe in Europe, depending on where you are, any continent you want to mention. But you're not in the Kaaba, you're not in the Haram, مثلا. That is not Qiblatul Ayn. It's not the actual Qibla itself, isn't it? Now, as long as your feet are facing the Qibla and you do a slight turn, like not 360, actually 180. You don't do a complete 180, or you go all the way 90 degrees. That would be too much. Then what happens? As long as it's not that much, then your salah is fine. Lakin it's makruh. But what if your feet turn as well? If your feet turn, then khalas, you have ruined your salah. You have to start again. Lakin, what if, for example, it's for a darura? Let's say a mother, they have a young child, and this little child maybe is just crawling or maybe walking, and in front of you maybe there's a library or maybe there's something that might be quite harmful to them, and you have to tend to them at the time. Maybe you have to do, now you're committing a few things here. What are you committing? Unnecessary movement. At the same time, you might even be moving. Your eyes are moving around. Your body is moving. Perhaps you're getting out of the qibla. If it's for al-darura, للضرورة لحاجة, then فلا بأس بذلك. There will be no problem, inshallah. Because remember, the Sharia is quite merciful at the same time. It tries to look at the problems of people. It doesn't just say, this is makruh, that is haram, and that's it. There are positions where the Sharia provides you as a leeway so that you can feel at ease as well. So for parents, for example, or maybe someone, or maybe let's say you put your shoes right in front of you in a masjid, and then someone wants to grab your shoes, whereas you can literally bend a little bit and take away your shoes before they even run away with them. That is fine, because that is a darura. That person is literally stealing your belongings. Then you can do that, and you can still be in a state of salah. And there are other masail related to that which we don't want to get into, inshallah ta'ala. What about moving the eyes around? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he spoke about this, and he said that al-iltifatu fi salah, and moving around, basically, especially your eyes, اختلاس يختلسه الشيطان من صلاة العبد. It is theft being committed by shaitan from the servant of Allah who is in salah. What does he do? He takes away something from that servant. When shaitan does that, what do you think he literally strips you away from? Your thawab, your rewards in salah, and mainly your concentration. Once that happens, you cannot really focus in salah completely. And you start literally making your salah to become invalid if it goes any further than that. So you have to be really careful with that as well. The next thing is وَتَشْبِيكُ أَصَابِعِهِ وَفَرْقَعَاتُهَا. And that is to do what? It is تَشْبِيكُ الْأَصَابِع is to literally tie around your fingers, to knot around your fingers. فَرْقَعَاتُ الْأَصَابِع is to play around with your nails, literally to click your nails like that, maybe to break your nails like that as well as you do that. That is makruh. And if you do that, فرقعة تخصر تغميض عين تابع. فرقعة تشبيكنا وفرقعة إقعاؤه وأن بدنيا يفكر. That is in أسهل المسالك. تشبيكنا وفرقعة, and he says something else, I forgot the line, لكن in Ibn Ashir he mentions it, in أسهل المسالك he mentions it, and also صاحب الكتاب هذا في العشماوية رحمهم الله تعالى, all of them, they provide that تشبيك الأصابع وفرقعاتها, it is makruh. تشبيك الأصابع وفرقعاتها, it is makruh. We have to avoid that. والمعتمد أن الكراهة في كل منهما خاصة بالصلاة ولو في غير المسجد ولا يكره ما ذكر في المسجد في غير الصلاة. Now there is also certain also explanation on this, because there is a place where it says also the ulama provide that in al-Utubiyah وقال مالك في العتبية that التشبيك أو الفرقعة, any of those, he dislikes them both in salah or out of salah. He doesn't like them at all, whether in the masjid or out of the masjid. لكن يقول العلماء أن هذا القول ضعيف. That قول is ضعيف, is not strong enough, it doesn't have that much weight. But لكن المعتمد that we take, which is the relied upon of the madhab, the mashhur of the madhab, what do we say is that أن الكراهة, it happens when you are in salah, even if it's not in the masjid. Because some of the ulama, they say it's only when you're in the masjid. Lakin it's not that. That's not the case. The case is it applies whether you're in the masjid or out of the masjid. You should avoid playing around with your fingers. And you know, in the Shafi'i madhab as well, if you are to play around with your fingers, you just make 3 movements actually. Your salah is batila. Movement in salah according to the madhab, in our madhab, you notice that it says it's according to the urf. What is the custom of accustomed to people. If they see that you're committing a lot of movement to a position where now they feel, okay, is he really in salah or not? Then your salah is invalid. Straight away, bear that in mind. What's the next thing that we have? وَوَضْعُ يَدَيْهِ عَلَى خَاصِرَتِهِ, is to literally place your hands on your hips. You don't do that, because that is tashabbuh bi adyan ukhra wa bil yahudi wa nasara, and in our deen there is no such thing as that. It is makruh. When we are in salah, you would either follow other madhahib which accept what? قبض اليدين. لكن في مذهب مالك الأصح, when it comes to قبض أو السادل, first of all, before we even answer this, I want you to bear in mind that the issue of not folding your hands, or maybe folding your hands, is not from the rukn, the pillar of salah. It's not from among the pillars of salah. It's not something that ruins your salah. These are from the mandubat, which is lower than a sunnah. Bear that in mind. And if that is the case, it's not something that you and I need to literally quarrel as Muslims today about it. لكن الأصح السدل. That which is correct is as-sadl. Was-sadl huwa al-asl. As-sadl is that which is correct, and it is the asl, it is the original form of prayer. If you follow the ahadith of qabd, you end up realizing there's an entire text in regards to as-sadl wal-qabd. It's about 65 pages written by Sheikh Abdul Hamid Al-Mubarak hafidhahullah ta'ala, may Allah preserve him for us. He wrote about this. A grand Maliki scholar. He wrote about this and he explained it very, very beautifully. He explained that all of the ahadith that are provided, especially when it comes to the qabd, all of them have an issue. Lakin the rest of the ahadith which are sahihah in regards to salah, none of them mention qabd. And when the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli," pray as how you saw me praying, then if it was a hay'ah that is supposed to be documented, the basic hay'ah that the Messenger ﷺ committed, then it would have been documented in the salawat. And you notice that a sadlu is part of salah which more than 18 of the Sahaba they used to do that. Did you know that it was the madhab of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud? It was the madhab of Abdullah ibn Abbas, if I'm not wrong, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abdullah ibn Umar, yes, Abdullah ibn Umar, it was their madhab. Umar ibn Khattab, Ali ibn Abi Talib, he used to literally let his hands down. He wouldn't do qabd. These are the Sahaba that literally were in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. كانوا لا يرون القبض, and that was not the urf of Medina. The urf in Medina was to do what? To do as-sadl. Bear that in mind, inshaAllah ta'ala. So let's move on. So you do not place your hands on your hips, but in fact also you do not fold your hands. You let your hands down. And if you look at the madhab of Shafi'iyya, the Shafi'iyya madhab, which is the strongest that you find al-asah in the madhab as well, it is as-sadlu. Although there are certain opinions that provide what? Al-qabdu. But pardon me, ikhwanana al-shawafi', what do? They do al-qabdu. Whereas the sahih of the madhab also is what? Is to do as-sadlu in the madhab. And remember, the Shafi'i madhab was not only built on its own, but actually was built upon the Maliki madhab, and also further than that, because Al-Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he went further to study the Hanafi madhab. Like in the madhab of Abu Hanifa, they only see al-qabdu throughout in salah, and that is below their navel, below their belly button, basically. That's what it is. Like in the Hanbali madhab, what about that? The al-asahhu fil madhab al-qabdu in the Hanbali madhab. Lakin there is an opinion in the madhab as well that it provides as-sadlu, it is sahih. As-sadlu, it is sahih. Lakin, when can a Maliki literally hold their hands together, commit al-qabdu in salah, is when they are tired of standing, which that mainly happens in an-nafl, or which is, for example, like tarawih, or maybe you're doing qiyamul layl. And هذه المسألة مسألة واسعة جدا. This mas'ala is very long and very wide. If we try to explain so much dalail that we have in regards to this, we're not going to finish today. Let's try to finish this inshaAllah ta'ala. The author, rahimahullah ta'ala, al-Musannif, he mentions also وَإِقْعَاؤُهُ. What is iq'a'? Iq'a' is actually a hay'ah of julus. It is a methodology of sitting in salah. It's a position that you sit in salah. Now, while you are in tashahhud, or maybe you are al-jalsatu bayna sajdatayn, mathalan, in that position, how do you sit? You do not sit any other sitting besides jalsatu tawarruki. And as you can see, the image, Jalsatul Tawarruk, how it looks like. Jalsatul Tawarruk is the correct sitting. This is how you see, according to the madhab, this is how you sit. Lakin there are other hay'at, which are maybe about 4 of them. All of them are regarded as, 4 of them are regarded as makruh. But there is one of them, not among the 4, if you add that on, it becomes 5. It is regarded as mamnu'. Which one is mamnu'? The other ones, for example, when you literally place your toes down and then your heels, you place your buttocks on your heels like that, for example, that is makruh as well. But the one which is mamnu', you are not supposed to do it, is haram. Lakin la yubtil salatak. It does not invalidate your salah, but it is haram. You become sinful for that. Is the jalsa, which is the jalsatul kalb, is known to be the hay'ah, the shape or maybe the position of sitting like that of the dog. Bear that in mind. If you want to see how a dog sits like, you can Google that and see. Sitting like that, where your leg is literally lying and your foot, maybe especially the bottom of your foot is facing upwards and the other one is facing upwards, and you literally passed it through your right leg like that, you don't sit like that. That is mamnu' in salah. Like in the other ones are makruh. And the correct one is jalsatul tawarruk, as you know, inshaAllah ta'ala. Another one is taghmidul aynayn, and that is to do what? Is to shut your eyes. Even if you feel that it allows you to concentrate in salah, don't close your eyes, because in our religion there is no such thing as closing your eyes. Try your level best to keep your eyes open. If you remember that you're in salah and then you've closed your eyes, open them again inshaAllah ta'ala, and that is really, really important. Another one is وَوَضْعُ قَدَمِهِ عَلَى الْأُخْرَى, and that is to literally maybe lift your leg and make it as a triangle shape, or maybe put your legs together, tie them together, and that is to do what? The ulama, they call it as-safad. They call it what? As-safad. And safad is to have your legs cuffed. As if your legs are cuffed. You're standing and your legs are literally together like this. As if you're in the military. You're about to salute. No. That's not how you stand. You literally, the shoulder width. Your shoulder width, that's how you stand inshaAllah ta'ala in salah. The other ones, they're all makruh, and you have to avoid that. And if you are to lift one of your leg and then you take your foot all the way to your knee and you start squatting in salah, that's makruh. And it might even lead to haram, because you're committing an action which makes a person think as if you're not in salah, and that is haram. You don't do that inshaAllah ta'ala. One of the things that I want to mention inshaAllah ta'ala, and these I'm going to conclude with, but I'm going to mention this one first. التفكر بأمر دنيوي, to think about issues which relate to your worldly affairs. Now, how does it make your salah to become batila? In this case, how does your salah become batila? We said to think about an amrun dunyawi, to think about a worldly affair, it is not haram. It does not invalidate your salah. That's what we're saying over here, sah? It is makruh. But it comes to a position where it can cause your salah to become batila. When you have the case of a person that is literally thinking, but this person may be thinking about a matter related to the akhirah. But that akhirah, what they're thinking about, is not related to the salah itself. They're not thinking of their salah. But then you have a person that they are thinking of akhirah, but that akhirah is related to the salah that they're praying there. So remember, that's 1 and 2. There's another case of a person that literally who is praying, lakin they're not thinking about akhirah at all. In fact, they're thinking about what? their worldly affairs. So that makes it 3. In what case can you make your salah to become batila? If you look at the person that literally, who is thinking about akhirah, but it's not part of salah, basically the akhirah, what they're thinking about is not part of salah, the hereafter, and the person that's thinking about the world, which is definitely not the hereafter and is not part of salah, their worldly affairs, and if this person also is thinking about their salah, if it leads them and takes them to a position where they don't know أصلى أربعا أو اثنين or they صلى واحدا, they don't even know whether they prayed 1 rak'ah, 2 rak'ah, 4 rak'ah, they're not sure of anything. Literally, they don't remember any of those. Then صلatuhu batila. This person, their salah is invalid. They have to start again. That's how it works. And the ulama, they've explained this beautifully, subhanallah. Lakin what about if this person is only in doubt that perhaps my salah, is it okay or is it not? How many rak'ah have I done? Have I done 2 or 3? You build upon the lesser one. So if you doubt whether you've done 3 or 2, you assume that you've done 2, not 3. If you doubt that you've done 4, 4 or 3, and you're in a salah which is for 4, basically like dhuhr, you only focus on the 3 and you dismiss the 4, the 4th one, and you then complete the salah with 1 more rak'ah, inshallah ta'ala. So you have to be very careful while you're in salah. You focus in the salah. That's why you notice taghmidul aynayn, closing your eyes, you shouldn't do that. Thinking of having thoughts in salah, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be committing any movements in salah as well. And when it comes to abath, and abathun bilihyatihi mathalan, that is mentioned over here, that is to play around with your lihya, with your beard, is included in it playing around with your ring. If you're wearing a ring in salah, playing around for example, like women, they're wearing like huliyah, hilya mathalan, they're wearing like bangles, or maybe they're wearing chains and all of that, or maybe they have something in their hands, and all of these things that you have around you which causes you to play around with, that is known as abath, committing meaningless actions in salah. And when you do that, it might even lead to invalidation of your salah. And there are other masail which I don't want to mention. What if a person is wearing a ring and then maybe they're using it to count the adad of raka'at, or maybe they're using it to count of how many adad al-ayat that they have recited. Those are other masail, inshallah ta'ala. So we'll stop here bi'idhnillah al-kareem, and we'll ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us understanding and grant us goodness while we go through this journey of learning bi'idhnillah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Al-Haajar TV, mwangaza kwa umma.